Welcome to the Nerd Cave News, the one-stop shop for all the video game news that you need to know. I am Zach, one of your hosts, joined along with, he's the crazy hillbilly man that does ham bone and speaks to the coyotes. It's Roscoe P. Sweetbreads Jenkins.
Oh, when you said hillbilly, I was like instantly starting to get upset. I was like, no, don't you compare me to some of these Troy people. But, you know, it makes sense. It makes sense. So it's Roscoe P.
Sweetbreads Jenkins.
Sweetbreads Jenkins. All right. That's definitely top tier. Definitely top tier.
Like,
so
Trey gave the name. I had to give the exposition. Woo! Like,
okay,
there was no exposition, so I was just like, there you go. I'll just make up the hillbilly that talks to coyotes and ham bones.
Both of you get credit. You definitely get 60% of the credit because you came up with the exposition.
Derek, where can they go to support the Nerd Cave?
They can go to become part of the ship of the exclusive crew at patreon.com/nerdcave, just like our wonderful crew members Brandon Hicks, Richard Newell, Daniel Safford, Rushing Waters Yoga, the conductor, Marilyn James, and Brittany, the Granny B. Harrison. What?
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Guys,
I promise.
You can find the Nerd Cave on a variety of platforms such as Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. Watch us live each and every week over on twitch.tv/nerdcave network, or you can get the YouTube version with all the stuff cut out that's fun. You could do that.
Yeah.
You could. Or
you know,
you can get bite-sized nuggets.
Give us real love and show it in its entirety.
Yeah.
You know.
Give us the love tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can go over.
And you feel.
You can go over to TikTok and get bite-sized nuggets of all the video game news that you need to know. We are currently doing our game club of September with Rise of the Tomb Raider. If you want to join us, get the game, jump into the tombs, raid them, steal all the precious things.
My precious.
Put it in a book. Learn a language. Find a sun queen that wants to kill you.
The immortal sun queen.
Yeah. Oh, Matthias. He's a crazy hillbilly that knows how to ham bone.
When he first showed up, I'm like, something ain't right with you, guy.
He would have a necklace of toes. Guys, we're going to get into the gaming discussion of the week. Roscoe, are you ready?
I am fantastically ready.
Okay, Amy, real quick. Amy asked, can we get a ham bone demonstration for those who don't know? Do you know what ham bone is, Derek?
It's a little thing with the banjo, isn't it? Like ding diddling, ding ding diddling, ding. Or no, am I completely wrong?
Ham bone is like when you're like.
I never knew that was what ham boning was. Okay, interesting.
That's what ham boning is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can tell who's the real Southerner and who's the imposter. Emergency meeting.
Yeah, it's like Morse codes with your hands. Yep. All right, here we go. Gaming discussion starts in 3, 2, 1. Saints Row team releases details on characters, customization, and the game's new tone.
So, the Saints Row developers Volition have just released a statement on their website providing us with plenty of details regarding the franchise's upcoming revival and answering some of the questions that have come up since the announcement of the game. Not every Saints Row fan was on board with the reboot when they first saw it, with many of them not sure if this new look and tone will be right for the series. But as always, those concerns are relatively baseless until we can actually play the game and experience it for ourselves. That was written in the article, by the way. But part of the statement from Volition read, quote, "This is a Saints Row game through and through, and that brings a lot of opportunity to create and show off new things." Volition also says that they're working hard to reveal more of the game and show us what moment-to-moment gameplay looks like, so hopefully we'll be seeing that soon. So the entire statement is as follows. Hello, Saints. It's been a couple of weeks since we announced Saints Row. We've been looking at all the various responses and questions that have come up. Rebooting Saints Row is a big change, and change is never easy. But we set ourselves the mission to build the very best Saints Row game we've ever made. And we're confident that for longtime and newer Saints Row fans, there's something for everyone in what we've created. Saying that, we've also wanted to answer some of the common questions we've seen. This is a Saints Row game through and through, and that brings a lot of opportunity to create and show off new things. We also see that we really want to see more of what the game looks like in the moment to moment gameplay. We're busy readying some things behind the scenes and look forward to unveiling them when ready. So there's the first section they talk about is criminal characters. The Saints Row reboot is a great opportunity for us to give you the chance to actually grow your own criminal empire from scratch while leading your gang to become the Saints. This is something we've not been able to pull off before, but because you as the player were joining a gang that already existed. And let's face it, it was crucial for us to introduce new characters as there were some huge changes in Saints Row 4. The Saints became masters of time and space, and we always knew we wanted to do something new. When creating the new characters, we wanted to have real criminals that are also relatable. It was important that they had the raw skills needed to start a criminal organization, but they also needed to start from the beginning. These aren't grizzled characters deep in their criminal careers, but rather are the start of their journey. Plus, it's always the ones you suspect the least who are often the most dangerous. Disillusioned with the American dream, trying to make ends meet, and sick of working for other gangs, our new characters decide to use their skills to start their own criminal venture, take over the city, and get rich. During their journey, they take over more and more of the underbelly of Santo Ieso. And that's when you start to notice some visual changes. A lot of you have been asking what happened to the classic Saints, Fleur and Purple. Rest assured, these are still very much a part of the Saints' identity. We begin by showing the Saints at the start of their criminal journey. Over the course of the game, they form the Saints and rise to the top of the criminal underworld, reaping rewards and recruits along the way. The further they go down the path, and the more you'll see the purple uniform come into play, and the more visually adorned with purple and fleur de lis the Saints, their HQ, and their recruits become. Here's a bit about our new Saints. There's Nina. Is the best getaway driver in the business and has a long association with Los Panteros. I'm not going to read all these character descriptions. Because we have got some more to get into. Kevin is part of the Idols when we first meet him. He knows how to get attention and make some noise. And he's also a DJ. Eli is a business mastermind. Making money is more important to him than the moral issue of how that money is made. And then finally, the boss. Regardless of your look, you are the ultimate murder machine that shoots first and asks later. The boss is overconfident and doesn't do well following orders. Then there's the best ever customization. Saints Row wouldn't be Saints Row without customization, so of course the game will have tons of customization. We've built the biggest customization suite of any Saints Row game. We have the most in-depth character creator ever seen in a Saints Row game. You can create exactly who you want to play as, whether that's a stone-cold killer or a fantastic-looking freak show. There are 8 customizable voices you can give the boss, 4 male and 4 female. All sound great, and again, more choice than we've ever offered in other Saints Row games. And also, you'll be pleased to hear layered clothing is back. Well done to the eagle-eyed of you that picked up on that. In terms of the vehicles, we have a huge array of customization options to dig into, and any vehicle you customize will be safely stored in a garage. Then we got 2 more sections. One is new setting, new tone. Saints Row is definitely a Saints Row game through and through, and a game that features that classic Saints humor we all know and love. Now, obviously, we rebooted the series, so there are some changes you'll notice, as well as plenty of Easter eggs and cameos to hunt down. The setting of Santo Ieso is a vibrant fictional city in the heart of the American Southwest. You get to live the fantasy of building your own criminal empire in a brand new huge open world. As it's a new city, you'll see some familiar and recognizable stores, plus a whole host of new ones. Santo Ieso also has its own set of radio stations, but you can still expect the Saints Row brand of excellent music taste. We'll talk more about the music in the game at a later date, so definitely something to look forward to. And finally, fully untethered co-op. I'm delighted to reconfirm there will be seamless co-op on offer for the full game, and that this is all cross-gen. So whether playing on the newest or more seasoned gaming hardware, you can enjoy the freedom of playing the entire campaign with a friend through seamless, untethered drop-in, drop-out co-op. Now, no getting stuck waiting around in lobbies. We always put gameplay first. Lastly, we have some new awesome co-op surprises in store for you, but that's all I can hint at right now. So, Zach, what does any of that strike your fancy? Does any I know I haven't played through any of the Saints Row games. I know the third and fourth are known for its wacky, zany, out there motif, but does any of that tickle your fancy or interest you or what have you?
For me, like I've never played much of Saints Row. I played just a little bit
Right.
of I think the third, not like hardly anything. This one, I know some people, even people that watch, like they were not excited that they are getting, rid of some of the more zany nature of it.
Right.
But the thing that struck me was the last part about the co-op, being able
Yeah.
to play where you're not tethered to anyone. You could play, if say you and I got the game together
Yeah.
and we're like, okay, we're going to play together, but you wanted to do some stuff and I can't get on for a week. You're not
Yeah.
waiting for me. Like, I'm not holding you back. You can go do stuff or vice
Right.
versa. I think that is amazing because so many games have abandoned co-op, one, or
Yeah.
they do it where you're tied to whoever you're playing with and everything.
Right.
So I like
Yeah,
that.
your progress doesn't carry over to your game.
Yeah, I like that. And because we've seen that with like Far Cry,
Yeah.
that you can play co-op, but whoever's the main player is the one that gets
All the
all
good
the good
stuff.
stuff and everything. I like that, the longer you play, the more you do. Like it is going to bring in the Saints, like the purple and the Fleur de Lis and all of that stuff, like bringing in that branding, what we've seen from the other games.
Hmm.
I like that. The customization, cool. We've kind of come to
Yeah.
expect that from any game where you get to
Yeah.
create your character.
Especially big open world games.
Yeah. So, um, for me, this one might be a way to jump into the series for a lot of people. And I
Yeah.
think that's what they're trying to do is
Yep.
they could only go so far with the way Saints Row was working with 3
Yep.
and 4. And I think they saw, maybe a dip in sales. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, we're only going to be able to ride this horse so long. So we gotta
Yep.
change things up. We've got to make it fresh because I remember, the beginning of it, they tried to be GTA. Didn't really work. I think,
Yeah.
this is kind of taking what GTA Online is in a way of building your own gang and be able to
Right.
do something in the story mode. Amy says, sounds pretty cool. Monster co-op.
Yeah.
I like
So and to me the biggest thing is like, and you kind of hit it on the head, like they saw that the sales were waning, and probably they also wrote themselves into a corner with how
Mhm.
they wrote the story for 3 and 4, and they're like, where can we go from here? Like, obviously, where's the line from going too wacky and out there to staying grounded in a realistic story?
Yeah.
And it's also like, it kind of takes a page out of EA's book, where EA was a lot of their franchises they had to delay and take some time off. Like, well, that's why we're seeing Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Battlefield took some time off. Like they all did that. Even like with Ubisoft, like with Assassin's Creed, they saw, before it hemorrhaged sales, they saw it's like, look, we see the numbers dipping year over year. Let's pull the plug and not make it annual. Let's just put out a game when we're ready. So,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people are upset by the tone, but they forget, like, yes, it was still wacky to an extent, but Saints Row 1 and 2 was very, like, it was like a GTA, straight GTA
Mhm.
clone, and it was somewhat serious. Like, yeah, you had some goofy moments, but it was straight GTA. So, people forget that. Like, they just remember, like, the wacky, certain inflatable moments from, especially 3,
Yeah.
um, but it seems like that got like what rewrote from history, but I don't know, like I'm fine with it. And especially when you call it a reboot, like if it was a
Yeah.
remake, then I could understand them getting upset. It's like, oh, you're not staying true to the formula, but it's a reboot, so that means you get a chance to do things over or do things different than you did before.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Can't wait to see more of the game. Speaking of more of the game, Far Cry
Hmm.
6 DLC roadmap has been unveiled along with, you already figured it, season pass details.
We really don't talk about season passes too often. It's mainly microtransactions, but season passes, it seems like more and more people are like going the microtransaction and games as a service route. Like you would expect like a game like Avengers to do a season pass, right? But all their content up until this point has been free. So
which is nice.
so it's interesting. So it's still so what now?
Which is nice that it's been free.
Exactly. So but so the first thing, and this is like their DLC, like post launch. This is not tied into the season pass. This is more of like special events, which Ubisoft is getting more into doing. But this is basically like a live. You know, Ubisoft a couple years ago is changing to a live service format, and a lot of live service games like, all right, here's big updates, and then here's like smaller like event type things that you can do. And it seems like for Far Cry they're doing that. So, Ubisoft has confirmed more details on its post-launch state for Far Cry 6, among which includes new crossover missions from popular brands and guest characters. The news comes following today's announcement that the game has gone gold. These special missions will include the like of Danny Trejo, Stranger Things, and Rambo. Further details haven't been confirmed on this feature yet, but it sounds pretty interesting when you combine it with the previously confirmed DLC that includes previous Far Cry villains. What's more, these missions are described as part of a range of free content, which also includes the following: weekly insurgencies, which every week starting from launch and available after the completion of the main campaign, partisans of Anton Castillo will rise across the island of Yara and pose new threats for players to eliminate. Players will need to track them down, and upon completion, they can also earn some new gear updates. Then the other thing is 6 special operations, taking place in unique new areas in the world. These operations will introduce new gameplay mechanics as players must snatch highly unstable chemical weapons from Anton's arms dealers and get to the extraction point before it overheats. The first 2 locations, Mesozoico and Masio, will be available at launch, and the other 4 maps will be upcoming additionally. Before I get to the season pass details, what do you think about it's Danny Trejo makes sense. Rambo, because of like, you know, you're a liberator, makes sense. Stranger Things is the one that sticks out to me.
Yeah, it seems like, oh, let's just like get something that's been popular over the last like 10 years.
Right.
You know, like I don't really see how that works into it all, but you know, Rambo makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
Jungles, he's great at that. You know, look at all the different Rambo movies and all of that.
Yeah.
Danny Trejo, I think that'll be cool to get him in there. You know, only if he could like vibe through things like he was in Flash.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
But yeah, you know, like some of it makes sense, some of it like Stranger Things doesn't.
Yeah. So, but you know, I think that's the thing with live service games. They do that one out there crossover, like with Monster Hunter World, like they did a Resident Evil crossover, and it's like, how does that fold into Monster Hunter? You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's like
it makes sense because it's Capcom, but
yeah, they see the success of Fortnite and them being able to bring different characters in. This is not Fortnite, you know, like this is not that battle royale
by no means
kind of mode. So it's like, who are they going to bring in? Are they going to bring in the sheriff? You know, that might make some sense. But like, bringing in the kids,
who knows?
like Demogorgon, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like a Stranger Things crossover would make better sense with Rainbow Six Extraction coming out in January. You know, but you know, Far Cry, it is what it is. But then again, Far Cry also is known for its out there moments, like, you know, the drug field in Far Cry 3, and then, you know, so you know, the acid trips you take in Far Cry 4. So I guess it kind of goes with that motif of like, hey, we're going to do something zany.
Yeah.
So, but getting to the season pass, Ubisoft has blown the lid off the Far Cry 6 DLC lineup, which includes a bunch of paid for and free content, many of which is part of the Far Cry 6 season pass. As previously confirmed, players will be able to step into the role of Far Cry bad guys such as Voss, Pagan Min, and Joseph Seed, which is the villains from 3, 4, and 5, respectively. These are described as die and retry missions where the villains have to survive the horrors of their own minds. Each villain starts off with just a pistol to defend themselves, and you'll have to hunt for new weapons and powers to stand a chance of surviving. These missions will combine action and storytelling to give you a better understanding of each bad guy, who are all played by the same actor who voiced them in the respective Far Cry installment. Episode 1, Voss Insanity, planned for release in November of this year. Episode 2, Pagan's Control, planned for January of next year. And then Joseph Collapse, planned for March of next year. So every couple of months. Elsewhere, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon Classic Edition will be given to console owners of the Season Pass, while those on PC will receive the original 2013 version of the game. In addition to that, there's the Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon set, which adds usable items for Far Cry 6. One outfit, Blood Dragon gear set, two weapons, the AJM-9 and the Cobra Khan, one vehicle, the Omega Enforcer, one weapon charm, the Killstar, one Fang for hire, K9000, and one vehicle chibi, Blood Dragon chibi. And and it talks about the free content, which we already discussed. And I saw the video, which was about 4 or 5 minutes of it. I don't know if you've seen it or read on it. Like, this is not what I was envisioning. Like, I'm kind of like lukewarm / torn on how they're doing the DLC, because when they saw, oh, you get to play as some of their favorite villains, I'm like, fantastic, I get to play as Voss and relive and hear Michael Mando's beautiful dulcet tones playing Voss again. But I was thinking more of like standard missions that you go on to. But then when I saw the video and read the description, it's more of like survival mode, where it's like, oh, you like it said, start off with a pistol and build up your rep type of thing. And it seemed like just more wave based. And I don't know, like, I'm intrigued by this because it's something different that Far Cry has done in the past. Because their story missions for Far Cry 5 were just terrible. Like, it made no sense whatsoever that they did. So it's different. It's paying homage to the Far Cry universe that they've done. At the same time, I don't feel like this is the route they should have gone either.
Yeah, like I'm glad they're bringing back the villains. Like I'm like you said, like I'm like it being kind of like a horde mode is a little strange.
Yeah.
As long as they're like a story that's like that helps like tell what's going on. It's not like,
Yeah.
okay, you load in, you pick Voss, and then I'm in my head or whatever. Like it it could be done well, it could be done not well as also. So I would have liked something a little bit different than a wave-based thing, but like it being DLC, it's a little, a little nugget on top of everything. It's not a full game. It's
right.
And I think that's where we got to come to. It's like we're getting to play as these villains, but we're not, getting a full game as the villains.
Right. So and I wasn't expecting like a full game, but I was expecting like a story, like how they did for 4, where it was like side content, like the Yeti content, like something like akin to that. Like, it doesn't have to be like another huge open world, but just a section of the map,
Yeah,
But
could be like
to each their own.
Gears of War Judgment, where you got to play as General Rom, the literally best part of Gears of War Judgment.
right. The only saving grace for Gears Judgment. So
story was okay. Like I don't know. That last boss battle was just bad.
Yeah, it really was. But c'est la vie. that's why it's kind of forgotten.
Yeah. All right.
But what's not forgotten?
The PlayStation.
Exactly. The Vita's forgotten, but not the real PlayStation
the Vita
system.
is not forgotten. You're spreading misinformation.
What's the last game that came to it?
Whatever game, Taco Master.
No, I'm talking about recent. Like, actually, and let me rephrase that. What's the last year a game came to the Vita that wasn't produced? Colin Moriarty's games don't count. I'm talking about by Sony. Sony themselves. As you're Googling it, because I know you don't know.
I'm gonna say 2017.
Okay.
And I feel like that's a little bit too late, to be honest, as well.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to think, like, Sony, like, I'm thinking major party like games and everything, because like it came out pretty hot. We're getting in the weeds here.
Yeah, exactly.
The Vita lives. I almost wore my Vita shirt tonight. I do it despite you a lot of times. I do it despite you a lot of times.
Give me 1 second here.
Okay. All right, guys. We hope you're doing well. We hope that you're doing well. We're about to get into PlayStation news. Let us know how you are down in the comments below, what you think of it so far. We got a lot of PlayStation news. We got a bunch of quick hits, and we're glad that you're here. We do have a 12-hour stream on September 25th. So remember, the 25th of September, we're going to be playing games all day. This is what you get, guys. I'm just vamping here. Let me know what y'all playing right now. What games are you into? What are you looking forward to? September's got a ton of games coming out. Like we got a pretty stacked rest of the year. Beginning of next year. Whew, so many things coming out, guys. So many things coming out.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm gonna have to it's getting to the point where I'm going to have my computer take my computer in and get this inspected. Anyway.
I don't know what to say. Dan says playing Genshin Impact, asking what people are playing and everything. Can you get me a camera?
Oh yeah, hold on, sorry.
Derek doesn't like showing his face.
I don't.
All right.
There we go. Because I clicked on the links in the doc, and then it was like not like it was pulling them up, but it wasn't finishing loading. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to reboot this again. But it's okay. It's all worked out. It's working now.
We're good. Dan, did you get the Aloy skin yet?
And yeah, that did come to Genshin.
Mm-hmm. Let us know. I'm curious if you got it. Let's get into the PlayStation news. New report.
Yep, finally.
New report claims further testing shows new PlayStation 5 models with smaller heatsink will keep the console cooler.
And I thought this was interesting, right? Because, when we first talked about this, all of it's, they said, oh, it's going to run, it's not like scalding hot, but it does run hotter. And now all of a sudden it seems like they're backtracking. But when Sony first started to roll out the new model PS5 consoles with a smaller heatsink, initial testing and reports appeared to show that this new model was in fact worse than the original, making the PS5 runs marginally hotter. Although further testing appears to show the exact opposite is true, and the new PS5 model's smaller heatsink is actually doing a better job than its brother in the launch model. The report comes from website Ars Technica, as the YouTubers known as Hardware Busters International show that their testing displays in the PS5's new smaller heatsink is in fact just doing a better job than the one in the launch model because it's pushing more heat out of the console, so of course temperature readings for the outside will be warmer compared to the new one. The idea that the new one being hotter than the old one makes sense, as Sony wouldn't have tested it and released it if they found it would be generally worse than the launch model, or at least we hope that they wouldn't. Hopefully this will end concerns for those who will be now buying the new models, and Sony will eventually phase the launch model out. So, but before I read the article, when they said it's like, all right, now you're trying to backtrack to, cover your tracks, it seems like. But, when I read it this week, I was like, okay, it seems like, further testing, which it does make sense at the same time. Will there still be problems? Like you still can't find PS5, so I mean it's a good thing. At the same time, you can't find one, so I don't know. What does this do for you?
With me, like I'm glad that it does run cooler. It kind of is weird that a smaller heat sink could cool the PlayStation better.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, with this testing that, it's reputable. With that said, like if it's a version of the console that can be made cheaper, they're making money on it, could possibly be a way for them to make more because like they're having to put less in there. Like I know superconductors are still an issue on this. But as long as it's working and we're not getting a worse version of the PlayStation 5, I'm fine with it. Like I don't really care, as long as it works the right way. If it is 100%. Just PR spin trying to say, oh, well, in these certain conditions, it actually operates cooler. Like, it operates cooler when you're in the menu.
Yeah.
Like, oh, ooh,
Like basically like a controlled test, you know?
yeah. Like, I don't want that. Like, I would have to look at the data and everything and see like what kind of what were your controls, what were your like how did you go about testing this, and like what
Right.
did you actually test. So hopefully they did their due diligence. I don't know them from Adam, but so hopefully maybe
So,
Shu was like, hey, you better make this right,
right.
better make this right.
Give the fans what they want, which is PlayStation 5s in general, but make sure they work because otherwise they'll be in the same boat.
Yeah, I don't know if you
Speaking, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't know if you have it in the quick hits, but you're like giving what people want. Nintendo finally adding Bluetooth support to
Oh
the
yeah,
Switch.
I did put that in.
Okay.
So,
We'll get there. We'll get there. Speaking
so
of additions to the
mm,
PlayStation 5, new PS5 system update adds M.2 SSD support, PlayStation 5 UX enhancements, and more.
so for that's the external. They finally added the update. We talked about this, I think, like a month and a half ago, where they're adding the ability to upgrade your internal storage. There's been debate about whether Sony will cover the warranty or not, or like it'll be under Sony's warranty if it messes up the system or not. There is, I've heard yes and no, but the update finally rolled out yesterday, and has announced the update. Chief among these features include the long-awaited support for M.2 SSDs, allowing you to store and play PS5 games on high-capacity storage devices. This feature has been much requested from PS5 users since launch, and select users were able to test it out earlier this year in the PS5 update beta. In addition, Sony is also overhauling the PS5 UX with various enhancements, including the ability to customize the control center more freely by rearranging or choosing which controls to hide/unhide at the bottom of your screen. Elsewhere, PS5 users can now effortlessly view and write messages to friends and parties directly from the game base in the control center. There's too much as detail, so here's some other stuff. Game library and home screen updates. If you have PS4 and PS5 versions of the same game installed, they'll now appear separately in the Installed tab of the game library and on the home screen. Each game's title will now also clearly indicate its platform. Screen reader controls. Players can now pause or resume screen reader, which is like with the PlayStation button and triangle buttons, and you have it repeat anything it reads with the PlayStation and R1 buttons. PlayStation Now Resolution Selector and Connection Test Tool. PlayStation Now subscribers can choose between 720p or 1080p, depending on individual game, to accommodate their preferred video resolution or for game streaming. A streaming connection test also helps them identify and troubleshoot any problems with their connection. And the new accolade type, Leader. Following an online match, players can award others with a fourth accolade type, Leader, which is visible on players' profiles. Meanwhile, trophy hunters will be pleased to know that there's a new trophy tracker that allows players to quickly gain access to up to 5 trophies per game via the control center. Xbox kind of does this with their achievements too.
Mm-hmm.
Another major addition with the new PS5 system software update is 3D audio support for built-in speakers, which is enabled in the sound menu. You can also measure the acoustics of your room using the DualSense controller's microphone to apply the 3D audio setting best suited to your surroundings. There's also one thing that they added that lets you remove screenshot confirmation icon. But one of the lesser known additions is the removal of something that has become a thorn in players' side since launch, namely the screenshot confirmation icon. The icon in question would appear at any point when players snapped a screenshot popping up in the corner of the screen. This would become an issue for players when taking multiple screens in quick succession, as an icon would pop up after every shot, making things cluttered. This is due to the fact that the PS5 doesn't separate its OS user interface from whatever game is being played. Thanks to the new PS5 firmware, however, there's an option in the capture menu and the capture settings that lets you switch the icon off. Simply turn off the option marked Display Save Confirmation for screenshots, and you're good to go. So, definitely some good stuff for different things for players. I think the biggest thing for me was, where was it? Even though I don't use the service, the PlayStation Now Resolution Center and Connection Test Tool. Something that Stadia should have used better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. like, I'm glad that we're finally getting the SSD support, and
Yep.
uh, are you going to put an SSD in yours?
It depends. Like, I have to do more research on the legalities of like. I'm sure there's like some off brands that Sony doesn't cover in the warranty, but I know
Mhm.
like in the demo it's the WD ones.
Yeah.
And I think if Sony's posting it on their own YouTube channel, they should cover it in the warranty. But I'm gonna have to do some more digging. Like, I am tempted to. At the same time, I also don't trust my hands enough to be steady and put everything back together. You know what I mean? Because PS5s are hard to find. So if I
Yeah.
screw it up, ain't.
Well, if you need help, I'll help you.
I got you. Appreciate
I've
that.
built several computers now, so I'll help you
There
out.
you go.
Uh, I think I saw Greg posting about this, like the UI for the PlayStation,
Mhm.
specifically trophies, like adding that feature, like tracking and everything. I think that's awesome. And then I know for PlayStation 4, I don't know, like I've never taken multiple screenshots in a row. I don't really do that very often, but that is one thing that's annoyed me, is like it popping up in the corner every time a screenshot would be taken. It's just like, okay, like like if I push the button, I know it's going to work.
Right.
I know it's going to work because it always does it. So like I don't need the confirmation every time.
Exactly.
So glad that they're continually supporting the PlayStation 5 and making it better and better. So yeah, hopefully we just get more PlayStation 5s out in the wild.
Yeah.
That's all
It's great that they're adding all this, but it's like, now where are the consoles?
yeah. Moving on, Fire Sprite has a larger team than Media Molecule and Ludden Studio combined. And also, they are reportedly working on a VR Horizon game.
So, I didn't know that they were this big of a studio, but that's nice to know. Um, but it's funny that they bring this up because there's been rumors of a Horizon VR experience for the last several years, but everyone just assumed that's what the other team at Gorilla was
Mm-hmm.
doing. But now it kind of makes sense that Fire Sprite, maybe this is like Sony's own internal VR studio that's going to be like, hey, we don't want to burden our first parties with doing X, Y, and Z, and on top of making a VR game for our new VR headset. So let's buy a studio that can take the load off. You know how Bluepoint is doing
Yeah.
the remakes, type of thing. Fire Sprite Studios, which recently found itself huddling under the umbrella of Sony first-party developers, is reportedly working on a VR game, presumably for PSVR 2, based on the Horizon franchise. According to Nick Baker, the co-founder of the Xbox Era, the game in question will be a brand new title and not merely a port of Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Forbidden West, with virtual reality tacked on. What he doesn't know, however, is if it will be a full-blown offering or a smaller VR experience. Um, So yeah, that's pretty much that. With VR, that's been the whole shtick with VR games. Like, it's either like a mode in it. Like, I know when Rise of the Tomb Raider, ironically, our game club of the month, it got a year of exclusivity on Xbox. Then when it came to PlayStation a year later, it coincided with the VR release,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, "Oh, here's the game for PS4, and here's also a PSVR mode in the game," which was just okay. A lot of the VR games are either just okay or they're experiences but they're not. Very few of them were full fledged games. Like, I know Firewall, Zero Hour, Farpoint, um, other things are escaping me at the moment, but there's definitely more experiences. So I wonder how this will play out. We've seen, they did a Psychonauts VR game, which was okay. It was more of like an experience, not a didn't tie into anything. So I think if they do another thing that just in that world, but not a tie-in game, I'll be fine with that with Horizon.
Yeah, me like I enjoyed Resident Evil's,
Hmm.
VR side of things, because it was like actually worked with the game. It wasn't just like a little
Yeah,
experience. It wasn't, Batman VR or Iron Man
yeah,
VR, which I heard that one was actually good. Batman VR was kind
yeah,
of,
yeah. Batman VR was whatever.
yeah, yeah. So they will have to do something to make it worth its while. Um,
Yeah,
Dan says, I don't know how Horizon would work on VR. That's the biggest thing, is like, Are you just, exploring? Are you just like taking in the landscapes? Are you fighting? Like, what is the game loop to this? Is it just
Right.
exploration? Is it, a
The first thing that comes to mind is like you see through the focus and you're scanning objects and machines or whatnot.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing that comes to mind is just like you're seeing it through the eyes of the focus.
Yeah, yeah. And is it just a fancy photo mode, like a really fancy
Right.
photo mode? Like,
Right.
I if we're gonna make something that is a VR Horizon game, I want something that is more robust than just an experience. Give me like a lost legacy. Like, give me a little,
Yeah.
story, something to, depending on when this is going to come out, it might be the DLC for the Horizon game, the new Horizon game, Forbidden West,
Hmm.
something to tie into that or whatever. I'm
Or
fine with,
maybe a bridge between, the first, you know what I mean? So that
yeah,
would.
a bridge between the first, if it comes out before, Horizon Forbidden
That's a
West.
good point. So I don't know. We'll have to see because since they just acquired Fire Sprite, unless they've already been secretly working on this for quite a while, it's probably not going to come out before February,
Yeah.
unless they delay Forbidden West again.
Now, it would be cool if we got to do the VR as Silence and get some of his story.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
that would be great.
yeah, that would be a cool way to like take his story, because at the end of the first game, like how that ends and everything leaves us on a cliffhanger. I'm not sure what they're
Yeah,
doing in the second game, like, but like do like have more of his story and everything after the first game.
yeah, yeah, that'd be great. Well, in betweener, because forget how many months slash years I think it's months between the first and the second game. So like, what has he been doing in that time? So it'd be a great thing to do. So only time will tell.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. Let's see. 6 months.
Okay, that's what I thought. So yeah, what has he been doing in those 6 months? So
Yeah.
maybe we'll get an answer.
What has he
Maybe
got
we'll
up
have to
to?
wait till Forbidden West.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Moving on, we got a little rumor. Little rumor has it
mhm. Yep.
first party PC ports may have leaked like a leaky faucet.
Right. So yeah, there was a stuff with the Nvidia GeForce Now service that has leaked. Some of it's speculative because it was like the Walmart Canada leak before E3 years ago. A lot of the stuff was shown at E3 that got leaked. Some of it didn't appear till years later. Some of it just didn't happen.
Hmm.
So take this with a big old grain of salt. But some of it doesn't align with a lot of the rumors we've heard this year. Any doubt there may have been regarding whether or not Sony would be bringing their biggest IP to PC was dashed when Uncharted Legacy of Thieves was announced, and now it seems like the next big PlayStation franchise to go to PC could be God of War from 2018. YouTuber Igor uploaded a video in which they appear to access the full list of games both available and potentially soon to be available through the Nvidia GeForce Now service. The video was only uploaded yesterday, and it seems like that users on Reddit have already begun to dig a little deeper, and it seems that God of War isn't the only game listed from PlayStation, but in fact Returnal, Demon Souls, the remake, Ratchet and Clank, Gran Turismo 7, and Sackboy: A Big Adventure are also there too. But as a report from website GT Planet points out, it's unlikely that any of those games, save for God of War, may actually be coming to PC, since none of them have a store designation, so it's unknown currently as to why they are there, though it's been suggested to have something related to PlayStation Now, since that service is usable on PC. And a lot of the games, like Days Gone's already on there, Demon Souls, which is a surprise. Everybody's gone to the Rapture, Ghost of Tsushima, which, there was that report a couple weeks, about a month and a half ago, that its watermark of only on PlayStation got removed.
Hmm.
God of War, Gran Turismo 7, Helldivers 2, which is intriguing because don't I don't I don't I could be wrong, but I don't think they even announced a sequel, so that could potentially be leaked. Horizon Forbidden West, Predator Hunting Grounds, that's already on PC. Ratchet and Clank, it doesn't say if it's the Rift Apart or if it's the 2016 Ratchet and Clank game. Returnal, and Sackboy: Big Adventure. Some of these, so obviously, again, as I stated, it's a rumor. Take this with a big grain of salt. we've heard rumors that God of War and potentially
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima could be coming there. So I believe some of these. Returnal's a surprise, but then again, as big as that game did and as big as Housemarque is becoming, it makes sense.
Mhm.
Sackboy, only because to get the name brand out there and to get more units, do I feel like that would make sense. Demon Souls remake is surprising because I don't know, like it's weird. We didn't talk about it when the Fire Sprite acquisition got happened, but whatever happened because it was like leaked early, then taken down, and they never made an official statement. But whatever happened to the Bluepoint acquisition? Like, are they waiting for an official, like something sometime later to let the fires just state, or like they haven't been fully officially acquired by PlayStation? So that's a shock to me on that one.
Yeah, I know like when Disney bought Fox, like
Yeah,
it had to go through like a lot of legalities because of monopoly kind of
right.
stuff. And with PlayStation buying more and more, developers, that might be the issue that's going on.
Maybe.
That's probably the same thing that happened with Bethesda, that, with Xbox, like it took a while for that to be official. Like they had accepted the bid, but then it was several months before, you know, they
Yeah,
were they
that's
were
true.
introduced as an Xbox studio and everything.
Yeah,
So
they just celebrated what in May?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, with that, and you said everybody's gone to the Rapture. I was like, man, I haven't heard that name in a long
Right.
time.
Right. So there was also some other ones like Deracine, which was a bad VR game. But yeah, there's some other stuff. But the biggest ones, and again, Ratchet and Clank. To me, that's the other one that doesn't. That's the one that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, obviously they could bring it, but that's to me that's the one that doesn't make sense. Like, and especially if it's the 2016 port. Like, if it's Rift Apart, I'm all for that because that's a
yeah,
fantastic game. But if it's 2016, that's a 5-year-old game. Not
yeah,
saying that it couldn't still people still couldn't buy it, but it doesn't make sense to me.
yeah. The Rift Apart makes the most sense, and like with a PC, like a high end PC, you can still do all the ray
Yeah,
tracing and everything that they did,
yeah,
particle effects, that the PlayStation 5 was able to do. So, uh, you know, we'll just keep an eye out and everything.
yep.
Again, guys, take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of
The
salt.
one thing before we continue on, it's interesting that they go ahead and put Forbidden West and Gran Turismo 7 on there, games that haven't even come out yet that just got release dates recently.
Yeah,
Um so I'm interested to see, are they going to start doing, maybe because the shortest window that we've seen is Death Stranding. It came out in 2019, then came
mm,
out to PC about 6-7 months later. I wonder if they're going to do that, start doing smaller windows again for like sequels
yeah.
or the next games, or are they going to do day and date with PC launches? That's going to be something to see.
I I think we might eventually get day and date. I think three
Hmm.
months would probably be more of the goal. 3 to 6 months
Right.
would be the goal, to like from PlayStation release to like PC. So I think with Sony, since they are more like in their own kind of minutia, unlike Xbox, like put it on anything that plays a game or has electricity, put it on it. PlayStation's a little bit more stubborn in that regard. Like
Yeah.
they're moving towards that, but I don't think we'll get day and date for probably another
Yeah.
5 years. That's just
Probably.
my thoughts on it. All right, let's get into some Sony quick hits, everybody. First one up, new Twisted Metal rumored to be in development alongside the TV show, which I saw Anthony Mackie
Yep.
is going to be part of this.
Yep, he's going to be like one of the central characters. I did see that today as well, so that's definitely intriguing, especially coming off his Falcon and Winter
Hmm.
Soldier. Um, Hopefully, they let him be a little bit more himself, because
Yeah.
the one thing is like, and it got talked about earlier. I forget where I heard it, but Anthony Mackie is in interviews is super funny,
Hmm.
but in a lot of his stuff, it's like while he does deliver some funny lines, he still feels kind of very stoic in his
Yeah.
performances in the MCU. So I hope they kind of let him be a little bit more of himself in the in Twisted Metal, because it's definitely out there.
Yeah. He feels more rigid, like,
Yeah,
like reserved. So I don't know who he's going to play, but I'm down for it. Like you said, he's a funny guy. So
yeah.
you know, he's my cap now. He's my cap. Moving on.
Spoilers.
Oh, sorry. Sony Ben's studio new game teased by Herman Hulse will feature a great new concept.
Yeah. They're doing job listings, and I think Sony Ben put out there, the typical thing, want to work for us? Here's what we're looking for. And then Herman Holst, the head of studios, is like, it's a great new concept. And I'm like, but where's our sequel? Give Days Gone another chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I look forward to what they're seeing. Like, I wonder how soon, because Days Gone, it just came to PC earlier this year,
Mhm.
and it came out the PlayStation 4 in 2019. I wonder how soon in the rotation cycle will Sony Ben be ready to show off their new game. Like, obviously, we've got, God of War Ragnarok supposedly next year.
Yeah.
Horizon Forbidden West in February, Gran Turismo the following month of March, got Spider-Man in 2023, Wolverine, who knows? We've got a lot of stuff. So when will we see Sony Ben's new game? Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. And then our last quickie, real quick. New Midnight Black Pulse 3D headset has been announced and released October 22nd.
Yep. So that's the new headset they did when they launched the PlayStation 5. However, it does work on PlayStation 4. Right. So you can still buy it in its gloriousness and use it on your PlayStation 4. So don't feel like you have to miss out on this just because you don't have a PlayStation 5.
There you go. There you go. We got some cleaning up to do. We're getting our polish and rags out. We're getting our little dusters.
Doing our spring cleaning in September.
We're going to be cleaning up our PlayStation showcase from last week. First up.
And real quick, we don't have to, I don't have articles on all these, so this can just be just okay, boom, bullet points type thing. Perfect.
So the Forspoken writers include Uncharted scribe Amy Hennig and the Rogue One, Gary Whitta.
Which you texted me this and showed me this, and I near about lost my mind. I'm like, Amy Hennig makes perfect sense. But then when you add in Gary Whitta, his zaniness and all that, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a power writing team for this game. Yeah. And it makes sense. And it makes sense for when you see all these wacky bad language filled trailers.
Yeah.
It all makes sense when you see who's writing these,
Yeah, I'm excited. Like Amy Hennig, she left from Naughty Dog, then went over to EA, and then her Star Wars game got canceled, which is still one of the worst travesties to ever happen. And then she's kind of just been nebulous around things, but to see her land and be making another game, and that's something that it looks really cool. Forspoken looks really interesting.
Yes. And so very Final Fantasy-esque.
Yeah. And Gary Whitta, can't go wrong. Book of Eli, Rogue One, Star Wars Rogue One. There you go. There you go. Moving on.
May not be a long pedigree, but he has a pedigree.
Oh, he does. He's got it. He's got it. Some Gran Turismo news. Number one, single player mode requires internet connection. Damage modeling is basically the same as GT Sport, and it will have crossplay between PS4 and PS5 versions of the game.
So the crossplay makes sense, especially with the online functionality. The one that sticks to me is the one that's it requires internet for the single player mode. Now, we've seen this with Call of Duty games where they unlock stuff in campaign that you can use in multiplayer. So they require internet connection in order to be able to transfer that unlocked data over to the other modes. But it's probably that. But seeing this, I'm just like, this is interesting.
Yeah, it's a little strange, but kind of gone is the day of a lot of games that don't have some sort of internet connection. That being
in some capacity,
especially racing games. Racing games
are
more more apt to that because you're unlocking cars, like you said, so it's you gotta transfer that data and all that cool stuff. So here we go.
Remember back in the day when we gave Microsoft crap for being always online, internet, TV, dogs, and it's we've come full circle now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at least it's not a red ring though.
Right, 100%.
Speaking of Xbox and their losses, KOTOR Remake We got some updates on that. The game will be published by Sony and collaborating on its development. And the second, Jennifer Hale has been confirmed to reprise her role as Bastila Shan, which
And
I didn't know.
go ahead.
I
I'm
didn't
sorry.
know she did that originally, but then once I read that, I was like, once I read it earlier today, I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that totally is her.
And this Jennifer Hale, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the voice actor for Femship,
Yep.
right? Got you. Okay, so that's who I was thinking of. So we all saw that was the biggest surprise to me
Oh
from
yeah.
going to the Sony's thing. That was the biggest surprise when I saw this trailers. It was when I saw that Sony Interactive Entertainment watermark go across. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
they are taking the reins from Xbox from back in the day. But I didn't also know that they were collabing on this. So it's like, look, it's like they're adding, they're helping with this. So they are full-fledged in on this. So it
Yeah.
makes me wonder, because I wondered after the show last week, is like, will this be a timed exclusive? But now it seems like more and more that this will just be a full-fledged exclusive. Like, no ifs. It may come to PC, but it probably won't come to other
Yeah.
consoles.
Which, hey, it is what it is at this point, but
Yeah.
I don't know all the details on like the remake. Like, you don't really have to do anything to the story, and I hope that they don't
Right.
really do anything to the story. Maybe doing some new missions, like side quests, but
Yeah.
other than that, don't really need much, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
That's just me. The train keeps
You
rolling.
can't change
Yeah, you
perfection.
can't. That's why I don't change. That's why I don't change. But the train keeps
Well
rolling,
played.
guys. Marvel's Wolverine is a full-size game with a mature tone. Has been something that Insomniac has wanted to do for years.
So just a little quote on that is like, back when we were working on Marvel Spider-Man, there would be times where all of us, Insomniac, Sony Interactive Entertainment, and Marvel, would brainstorm together about the future beyond the web slinger. And even in those early discussions, Wolverine continually came up as the character we really would be stoked to work on together. Fast forward a couple years, and we're suddenly standing in front of Sony Interactive Entertainment and Marvel, formally pitching a PlayStation 5 game starring the adamantium clawed mutant. Since you just saw the teaser, announced teaser, we can confirm that the pitch seemed to go pretty well. So I like the fact that that this has been something they brainstormed. Is obviously this has been in the works for a minute. Who knows? Because Spider-Man came out in 2018, but they talked about in development, which was probably years prior. So they've been just sitting on this for probably at least 4 or 5
Yeah.
years. I do like, because people did question. It's like, oh, is it going to be like Wolverine, or is it going to be like is he going to be, for lack of a better term, neutered, like PG-13, or is he going to be like Deadpool, where you're going to have like the visceralness of it and like the claws slicing off body parts or whatever. And it also, people asked, is this going to be more like Miles Morales, or is this going to be like a big game like 2018 Spider-Man? Here's what I don't want. Like, I'm glad that it's a full-fledged game. Like, I still consider Miles Morales a full game as well, but compared in scope, I get what they're talking about. Here's what I don't want from Wolverine. I don't want it to be open world. I think like it can be hub areas like Ratchet and Clank and some other games that they've done. I don't want it to be like, oh, explore an entire city, because I think that would go stale with a game, with a style of game like Wolverine would be, in like the character of Wolverine. It would go stale. Like, you can do some exploring, but I don't want a full open world. But again, time will tell.
See, I just had an idea. I'll go off real quick on that. Open
Okay.
world, Wolverine does not traverse terrain the same way Spider-Man does. He walks/runs. Unless you have some sort of vehicle, put him on a motorcycle, it just would not work the same way. The idea that I had was he would be more in like the woods. He would be, hunting, using his sense of smell, like you would be tracking. That would be a cool game mechanic to have, and him hunting his prey or whatever. Like, that's something that we saw like in the comics. We saw in the 90s TV show, he would always be sniffing and be like, someone's over here, that sort of deal. Like that's what I would love to see. And with Insomniac, their combat, like this is perfect. This is perfect.
Yep. 100%. So we'll have to wait and see. All we have is a teaser image, and so this is probably like several. If Spider-Man 2 is 2023, this is probably at least 2025,
Yeah,
2026. So
it, it's a while. Maybe there'll be PS5s on the shelves by then.
you would hope.
Speaking of Spider-Man 2, the Venom voice
Yep.
actor Tony Todd says the game is massive, and the game reveal was running in real time on the PlayStation 5, confirms the developer.
So the running in real time kind of coincides with when they revealed the first one back at E3 2016. They were showing those action shots, and people were debating back then whether that was gameplay or that was just in-engine footage. And the Insomniac leader came out and said that it was actual in-game footage. So it seems like they're sticking with that shtick again. But it seems like they're going bigger, big go big or go home type thing. Tony Todd, the actor behind the voice of Venom in Insomniac games, newly announced Spider-Man 2, says the game is, quote, massive. Replying to a fan on Twitter, Tony reaffirmed that he would be voicing the character of Venom in a PlayStation exclusive sequel before commenting on the full size of the game and its future release date. And his quote is 2 months or so. Oh, no, the fan asks, is this true? How long have you known? My excitement level hit the roof. Tony Todd replies, 2 months or so. Game is massive. That's why it won't come out until 2023. And then it elaborates more on this kind of stuff. But, we've seen, with a lot of open world tropes, when a sequel comes out to a massively successive entry, they want to go big, like we talked about in Dying Light 2, how it's 4 times bigger than the first Dying Light, and how Shadow of War did everything 4 times bigger than Shadow of Mordor. I just hope that they don't bog it down with useless side quests and whatnot. But if the scope and the feel of it, especially if you're going to have if you can change between Peter and Miles and maybe give them their own separate like storylines or side quests to do, that I could believe why the game's not coming out for another 2 years, because they're adding a lot of stuff in there. As long as I don't want fluff, I want substance.
Yeah, you want steak, not just sizzle.
Exactly.
And along with that, like maybe Venom's not necessarily a villain here. Like he's not someone that you have to fight.
Yeah.
Maybe you do fight him and you get him on your side, and then he becomes a playable character.
Yeah, I'm about to say that's been thrown around like the first thing that pops in my head is like, as much as we give crap for it, rightfully so, but just stick with me. It's like Halo 5 with Spartan Locke. Like he's like a villain for a time being, and then at a certain point, boom, now he helps.
Yeah.
I could see that it will be. At some point, you have to figure that, because without not spoiling anything, but the way Spider-Man 1 ended with the tease, that's going to have to play in. But it's something has to go in the favor of Peter and Miles.
Yeah, exactly. And if Kraven is the villain, the main villain, then like we did have multiple villains in the first one, so they could be playing that card again. But if you make Kraven the main villain and make him a threat to not just like he's a threat to Spider-Man, to both Spider-Man and even Venom, like they have to team up to be able to take Kraven and whoever else down and all of that. I think that makes it a more believable kind of thing. So
real quick question for you on this. Obviously game's a few years out. Do you think, because they kind of teased this at the end of Spider-Man 1, but do you think they'll do a tease again, or do you think we'll get both Venom and Carnage in the sequel?
I think we get just Venom to establish him.
Okay.
And then we get like maybe like hints at Carnage coming, and then we get like a Miles Morales version where Carnage is actually in it.
Fair enough. Okay. I like that.
My thoughts
on
that.
Well, again, theme for tonight. Time will tell.
Time will tell. Moving on to our biggin. Biggin.
The important one.
God of War Ragnarok will be one continuous shot, just like the 2018 game. Eric Williams will be the director of games and has been with the studio since 2004. Corey Barlog is working on unannounced projects. This will mark the end of the Norse saga, mainly due to how long it takes to make modern God of War games. The 9 realms will be changed in some way by Fimbulwinter, and the world and the combat are evolving 28's foundation.
So, just a couple of things, like the continuous shot, obviously that was a staple. It won many awards. One of the definitely highlights of 2018 game. Eric Williams, he's like it said, he's been with the company since 2004, so he's been through pretty much all of the God of War games. So his blood runs deep with this franchise. So it's not like they're just hiring some newbie to take over. And it kind of coincides with the tradition at Santa Monica where a new director takes over for every sequel of God of War. So Corey's working on something. It's just he can't talk about it yet. I'm sure he's involved with the story of God of War Ragnarok in some capacity. And it marks the end of Norse mythology. Like we saw with the previous installment, right? The Greek mythology, while great, overstayed its welcome, especially come by Ascension. You know what I mean? So don't want to overstay its welcome. And if you paid attention when they got to Tyr's room in the first one, they talked about him visiting other mythologies, and Cory Barlog's post-launch interviews have talking about visiting other realms like Egyptian, Hindu, that kind of thing. So they could definitely do this like Assassin's Creed type thing where like do every couple of games they go to a different realm and do a different pantheon. So it kind of coincides with everything like that. With the 9 realms, there's a quote here: going to all the 9 realms, that was big for me, making the old new again. Any realm you've been to before, because Fimbulwinter has struck, they're changed in some way. It doesn't mean that every realm is affected by snow, by the way. I think that's a misnomer. Fimbulwinter is an event that changes the realms in different ways. Midgard is the cataclysmic epicenter, so it got permafrost, almost, if you will. So obviously, as big as Ragnarok is, it will have an effect on the 9 realms in some capacity. Maybe not in scenery, but it will definitely maybe like the multiverse breaking type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm probably not. Let me see how long this article is. Okay. So from what they're changing, because I know Murdoch may or may not like this, because I know he was definitely down on the combat from 2018, even though I vehemently disagree. But it's his opinion, it's his right.
It's okay to be wrong.
So 2018's God of War marked a major departure for the franchise, and not just because Kratos saw himself journeying from Greek to Norse mythology. Santa Monica Studios' acclaimed adventure fundamentally changed many aspects of the experience of playing God of War. From its cinematic, unbroken camera to Kratos' Leviathan axe to the ever-present Atreus and so much more. While God of War's Ragnarok certainly looks to be building on what came before, its new director, Eric Williams, is looking to evolve the fundamentals of that memorable experience while also providing new variety and intrigue for players. Quote, God of War 2 and Ghost of Sparta are probably 2 of my favorite games that I worked on. There was a method to both those games, taking the base and then saying, you know what, let's go deep on fan service. Let's go big on variety, but not more just to have more. More that was appropriately structured. For me, being first time in the director's chair, I'm going to take the history lessons of the past, and I'm going to use those to try to do that. So in Ragnarok, what we are trying to do specifically with Kratos, we're trying to give a lot more expressiveness to the player. And by expressiveness, Williams doesn't mean giving Kratos more goofy photo mode faces. Instead, he was referring to some of the choices around Kratos' gear, which players have had a much greater control over in the 2018 entry as opposed to previous games. He also teases that Atreus, who often served as an aid in combat, who had a limited number of follow-up and combo moves he could pull off while players controlled Kratos. Quote, the way he and Kratos link up, he's grown up a little bit, so he's got a lot more follow-ups and setups for Kratos. He continued, though, he noted the team is equally making sure the suite of enemies players face can match up to those new moves. Quote, creatures then obviously need to have tools to go against that, otherwise you're going to destroy them. So creatures have new things that you're going to need to think, oh, I might need to break them down with Atreus first, or do this with Kratos. There's going to be a little bit more conversation with the enemies with all the new tools, but because you can have different tools, then you have different conversations, so you can kind of push them one way or this way or that way. noting that in the way armor has depth in the first of these Norse-based games, other elements should similarly allow for player variety. Williams also explained that this thought of evolving and deepening what players experienced before is also being applied to Ragnarok's actual world, which will let players visit all 9 realms, whereas God of War 2018 omitted some, and even though Fimbulwinter has begun, players shouldn't expect to only encounter snowy realms. Um, but all of the additions the team is making are very methodically intentioned, while the gameplay teases hint at a greater variety than even 2018's God of War offered. Williams wants to make sure all of these new additions mean something to the audience, using an example from combat that indicates how these additions have wider effects. Um, Variety for variety's sake is not a thing for all of us. It's there to serve while we're trying to what we're trying to do. Kratos grappling up the ledge with a chain and then colliding with the enemy and going off in the new gameplay footage. You couldn't do things like that in 2018. Most of the gameplay last time took place on a plane. Now there's some verticality to it, but it wasn't a thought like, oh, let's have him flinging up walls just because. That's included because there's gameplay oriented around it, almost king of the hill type encounters, so it changes how a player expresses themselves on the battlefield. Enemies also can take advantage of that, so if you're not paying attention, they're going to take advantage as well. So it helps, again, with that conversation that goes through combat.
Mm. It sounds exciting, man. Like all the new changes, the additions and everything.
Yeah.
It's not just we're gonna shake it up, and
A sequel by
yeah,
numbers,
yeah. It's like, oh, we'll add like 2 or 3 things to, the system, and then that'll be about it that we're gonna add to the game
Yeah.
loop. It's like, okay, things have changed, combat's going to change,
Mhm.
Atreus growing up. I like the methodicalness of like them planning this out. It's not just, okay, we need to get a sequel out there, let's just
Yeah.
throw it together.
And it kind of coincides with this new director Eric Williamson. Like, who is this? And what when I saw he was, and you see this when I read it through the article, right? Or for those of you at home, you're listening to this. Um, he's been with the company since 2004, so he's rooted. He's been there through all the God of
Yeah.
Wars, through the ups and the downs. He knows. He's got the
Hmm.
history, so he knows what will work, what makes sense, what doesn't, what we can just throw out
Yeah.
and say we can do better with this. So it's great that you have someone like, yeah, I know pedigree can sometimes be a fault because some people rest on their laurels, but with him, he's like, this is my first time.
Yeah.
I get to be in the director's chair. I get to make this my own. So here's what I want to do with this. Like, Corey did a great job, but I want to do some things differently than he did.
Yeah. And with they did an interview at the end of the showcase with
Hmm.
um
Corey and Eric.
Corey and Eric, and Eric was talking about it and everything, and like I had faith in him. He's been there from
Yeah.
the beginning. It's like I might not have known him. Corey kind of became the face, and I think that's
Yeah.
been kind of to the detriment of like him not being at the
Yeah.
forefront of this. But I think that also, like, I'm gonna call it right now. This is
Yeah.
my prediction. Corey is working on the next phase. He's setting up
Oh yeah.
the next thing, us going to Egypt or wherever. Like that's
Yep.
what he's doing. He's not just like
100%.
like he was the writer and director of the last one. So like he
Yep.
already knew where this was going to go and end. Like the road was already
Yeah.
there. So he's already working on the next one, writing and getting it ready for them to,
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah, so Eric's doing the alley oop to transition Corey into the next
yeah.
one, and like again, we talked about this is the Ragnarok's going to be end of the Norse mythology. So yeah, you can have a new director, change, and even
Hmm.
though Corey's directed it, it's still a different director for each iteration. So that was my first thought too. I'm like, he's doing the next
Yeah.
mythology pantheon.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
excited.
am too. I am too. You know what else I'm excited for, Derek?
More quick
We
hits.
getting into the quick hits. Here we go, guys.
So start off, Elden Ring watchtowers are Ubisoft-style towers that will help you uncover small dungeons. So like the radio towers in Far Cry unlocks more of the map and highlights the points of interest. Rumor, Alan Wake Remastered is a precursor to the long-awaited Alan Wake 2, which is kind of what we kind of reported on earlier in the year as well. Alan Wake Remastered is ditching the original's product placement. Um, The next Halo Infinite multiplayer beta arrives September 24th, so that is 8 days away, next weekend. Football Manager 2022 will be on Game Pass at launch. Bayonetta 3 developer says, quote, it's not our decision when to show the game. Because I know people have been clamoring for where's Bayonetta 3 at? Platinum Games wants to port Star Fox Zero to Switch with some changes. Carnage is the latest addition to Fortnite Season 8 Battle Pass. Rumor, the next Bioshock game coming next year, 2022. Also another rumor, excuse me, the 2022 Call of Duty game is a sequel to 2019's Modern Warfare and will be about Captain Price going against drug cartels. Some delay news, Total War Warhammer 3 delayed to early next year. Dying Light 2 delayed till February 4th of next year. Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1 delayed for PS4 and Xbox One. Battlefield 2042 delayed to November 19th, and the beta is rumored to be pushed to October 6th as well. It was supposed to be, I think, next weekend. New Brothers in Arms game is in the works, but Gearbox isn't ready to show it off yet. Marvel's Guardian of the Galaxy has officially gone gold. Assassin's Creed Valhalla Viking Discovery Tour set for October 19th. Ren and Stimpy confirmed for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Nintendo has, quote, no plans to lower Switch prices in the US following European price cut. Latest Switch firmware update finally adds Bluetooth audio support, as Zach was talking about earlier. Steam Deck is in, quote, the final stages of development and dev kits are being sent out. Destroy All Humans 2 remake seemingly announced by mistake. A new RPG to be announced by Sega at its Tokyo Game Show. Deltarune Chapter 2 from Undertale creator drops on PC and Mac tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Time. And finally, Wipeout Rush announced for iOS and Android for early next year.
Some good quick hits. Three that I want to touch real quick. Finally getting a sequel to Alan Wake. Like we got like American Nightmare. Like it wasn't really a sequel or anything, but finally getting to Alan Wake 2. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be awesome.
Yep.
Another Bioshock game. I'm curious where they're going to go with that. Like the settings of like Bioshock has always been, you know, phantasmical and everything with Rapture, and then I can't remember the one in the sky, but you know,
New Columbia or no?
I can't remember.
Was it Columbia?
Yeah, I think something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Anyway,
like I always love Bioshock, so give me more. Give me more, and then Nintendo. My dudes, Nintendo, literally having Bluetooth support in the Nintendo Switch from launch, because it was there. This is a software update. It isn't a hardware update. It's been there. That is, I don't know to either like shake their hands or punch them in the face on that. Like it's kind of like,
why not both?
Why not both? I'm glad that they're finally doing it, because now I can, you know, just put my AirPods in and play my Switch. But you know,
right.
You know,
better late than never, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Alan Wake, because you know, earlier in the year we reported on like the rumors of Alan Wake Remastered coming, and you know it was coming to PlayStation, and then there was also follow-up rumors that this could lead to a sequel. So this, now that the remaster is officially a thing now and coming in just a few short weeks, it's, you know, I'm sure the rumors of a sequel are picking up again. So if one's true, the other one has to be true. It's just a matter of when we get the sequel, you know?
Hopefully it won't be tied to sales.
Yeah.
And they'll just do it.
Now, do you think, I know, no, they should do it, because I think Remedy got the IP back from Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So because that was going to be my question is, do you think Remedy does it? But if they got the IP back, so they should do it.
Yeah, they definitely should. That's the only way I would trust it. Dan talking about the Switch, it should have been there from the start. 100%. I agree. The Bluetooth should have been there from the start.
Yep. But you know, again, better late than never, I guess. It's Nintendo.
Well, there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. It was a good one. Roscoe, Sweet Breads, Jenkins. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well. Always. Each and every week.
Guys, make sure that you come back next week. Come hungry.
Mm-hmm. We'll feed you.
Big old.
Feed your brain.
Yeah. Big old heaping helping of all the news. Make
Mhm.
sure to follow us on all the social medias here, over on Twitch, and over on YouTube. We're doing a lot of cool stuff. And go over to patreon.com/nerdcave. Support us over there. Become part of the ship, part of the exclusive crew. And the 25th of September, we are going to be doing a 12-hour stream, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time. Come and join it. It's going to be a ton of fun. Roscoe, I enjoyed it, man.
As always.
This has been Zach.
And Roscoe P. Sweetbreads Jenkins.
Y'all have a blessed week. Bye.